You've been conditioned to believe that closure is sacred, that every wound deserves healing, that every betrayal requires forgiveness. But what if this belief is the very cage that keeps you powerless? You sit there replaying their words, searching for understanding, begging the universe for some grand revelation that will make their cruelty make sense. Meanwhile, they sleep peacefully, having already moved on from the wreckage they left in your life. The closure delusion runs deeper than you think. It whispers that you are incomplete without their acknowledgement, that your pain is invalid without their confession, that your worth hangs in the balance of their apology. This is not spiritual wisdom, this is psychological slavery. You have been taught to externalize your healing, to place your emotional sovereignty in the hands of those who violated it. In the first place, they will not come back with explanations. They will not validate your suffering. They will not hand you the keys to your own peace. Yet you wait, suspended in this liminal space between what was and what could be, while your life drains away in the service of a fantasy. The closure you seek is not coming because it was never theirs to give. It was always yours to take, but taking it requires something you have been taught to fear. The acceptance that some questions will never be answered, that some wrongs will never be righted, that some people will exit your life as mysteries wrapped in cruelty. This acceptance is not defeated, is the first step toward reclaiming your power. When you stop waiting for them to close the door, you discover that you have been standing in an unlocked room all along. The moment you realize that closure is not something you receive but something you choose, everything changes. You stop being the victim of their silence and become the author of your own resolution. You stop defining your worth by their acknowledgement and start defining it by your own standards. You stop letting their absence control your presence and start filling that space with something far more valuable, your own unshakable sense of self. This is where your transformation begins, not in their explanations, but in your decision to stop needing them, not in their apologies, but in your refusal to apologize for outgrowing them, not in their closure, but in your opening to a life where your peace is not contingent on their participation. The cage door has been open all along. You just needed to stop asking for permission to walk through it. The world has taught you that healing requires collaboration with your wounds, but true healing requires something far more radical: the willingness to heal without them, to close chapters they refuse to end, to find peace in the spaces they left empty. This is not about forgiveness or resentment. This is about recognizing that your emotional freedom was never theirs to grant or withhold. You are not broken because they left without explanation. You are not incomplete because they refused to acknowledge what they did. You are not powerless because they will not participate in your healing. You are simply human, dealing with the aftermath of someone else's inability to honor your humanity, and that, in itself, is closure enough. The people who truly matter will never leave you guessing about their intentions. They will never make you beg for basic respect. They will never require you to sacrifice your dignity for their comfort. The ones who do are showing you exactly who they aren't through their words, but through their willingness to let you suffer in uncertainty while they move on unencumbered. Stop waiting for them to become the person you needed them to be. Stop hoping they will suddenly develop the consciousness to understand what they took from you. Stop believing that your healing depends on their awakening. They are not coming back with answers, and even if they did, those answers would not give you what you think you need. What you need is already within you. It has always been within you. The capacity to close your own chapters, to write your own endings, to declare your own worth. These are not gifts others bestow upon you. These are powers you possess by virtue of being human. The closure delusion has made you forget this truth, but forgetting is not the same as losing. You still have the power to choose your own resolution. You still have the ability to transform your pain into wisdom, your confusion into clarity, your abandonment into independence. The question is not whether you can heal without their participation. You can. The question is whether you will finally give yourself permission to do so. The closure you seek is not in their words but in your silence, not in their presence but in your absence from the need for their validation, not in their acknowledgement but in your acceptance of what is. This is how you break free from the closure delusion, not by receiving what you think you need, but by realizing you never needed it at all. That when you stop seeking closure from others, you discover something profound. You become unclosable. No one can leave you hanging because you have learned to stand on your own. No one can withhold peace from you because you have learned to create it within yourself. No one can make you incomplete because you have learned that you are whole. This is the first illusion you must shatter if you want to reclaim your power. The belief that others hold the keys to your emotional freedom is the foundation of all your suffering. Once you see through this lie, once you recognize that closure is not something you receive but something you choose, you begin to understand that you have been your own prisoner all along. The door to your emotional freedom has never been locked. You have simply been standing there, waiting for someone else to open it, when all you needed to do was push. This is the moment you stop waiting and start walking. This is the moment you realize that the only closure you need is the decision to close the door on anyone who refuses to honor your worth. And in that closing, you discover something beautiful. You are not losing them. You are finding yourself. You are not missing out on their love. You are making space for your own. You are not being abandoned. You are being liberated from the exhausting work of making yourself small enough for people who were never big enough. For you. The closure delusion dies here, in this moment of recognition. You do not need their permission to heal. You do not need their participation to grow. You do not need their acknowledgement to be whole. You are already complete, already worthy, already enough. The only thing you were ever missing was the recognition of this truth. Now you have it. Now you are free. Now you can finally close the door on the version of yourself that believed you needed others to complete you. That person served you well, but they were never meant to be permanent. They were meant to be outgrown. And in outgrowing them, you discover who you really are, not someone who waits for closure, but someone who creates it. This is your first step towards psychological sovereignty. This is your first taste of true power. This is your first glimpse of the person you are becoming, someone who needs no one's permission to be whole, no one's validation to be worthy, no one's closure to be free. You are your own resolution. You always have been. You just forgot for a while. But forgetting is not failing. Forgetting is human, and remembering is where your power lies. You remember now. You remember that you are complete. You remember that you are worthy. You remember that you are free, and in remembering you close the door on the closure delusion forever. The real work begins now. The real healing starts here. The real you emerges in this moment of recognition. You do not need their closure because you are not their chapter to close. You are your own book, your own story, your own ending, and that ending is not about them at all. It is about you, choosing yourself, choosing your freedom, choosing your power. This is how you break free from the closure delusion. This is how you reclaim your emotional sovereignty. This is how you stop being a victim of other people's silence and start being the author of your own peace. The door is open. The choice is yours. The power has always been yours. You just needed to remember how to use it. And now you do. Now you are ready for what comes next. Now you are ready to see through the next illusion, to break free from the next cage, to reclaim the next piece of your power. The closure delusion was just the beginning. There are deeper truths waiting to be uncovered, harder battles waiting to be fought, greater freedoms waiting to be claimed. But you are ready now. You are awake now. You are free now. And that freedom is just the beginning of everything you are about to become. The person who needed their closure is gone. The person who creates their own closure is here. And that person is ready for whatever comes next. The validation trap is everywhere, woven so seamlessly into the fabric of modern existence that you mistake it for natural law. You post, you share, you perform, you optimize yourself for the approval of people whose opinions should mean nothing to you. But they do mean something, don't they? They mean everything. Because somewhere along the way, you forgot that your worth is not determined by consensus. You refresh notifications like a gambler pulling slot machine levers, hoping for that dopamine hit of external validation. Each like is a small affirmation that you exist, that you matter, that you have value. But what happens when the likes stop coming? What happens when the validation dries up? You discover that you have built your entire sense of self on the most unstable foundation imaginable: other people's opinions. The validation trap is not just about social media. It extends into every relationship, every conversation, every choice you make. You find yourself editing your thoughts before you speak them, wondering if they will be received favorably. You modify your behavior to fit the expectations of people who will never live your life or face your consequences. You become a master of psychological shapeshifting, molding yourself into whatever form you think will earn you approval. But here is the truth: they do not want you to know the people whose validation you seek are often seeking validation themselves. They are just as lost, just as insecure, just as desperate for approval as you are. You are asking blind people to validate your vision, asking the emotionally bankrupt to affirm your worth. You are giving away your power to people who do not even possess it themselves. The validation trap teaches you to live in a state of constant performance anxiety. You become so focused on how others perceive you that you lose sight of who you actually are. You develop a false self, a carefully curated version of yourself designed to maximize approval and minimize rejection. But this false self is exhausting to maintain, and it can never truly satisfy you because it is not really you. When you live for validation, you give others the power to define your reality. Their approval becomes your truth. Their criticism becomes your shame. Their indifference becomes your arrest. You become a prisoner of other people's projections, trapped in a hole of mirrors where you can never see yourself clearly because you are always looking through the lens of their expectations. The most insidious part of the validation trap is that it makes you believe you are connecting with others when you are actually disconnecting from yourself. You think you are building relationships, but you are building dependencies. You think you are gaining acceptance, but you are losing authenticity. You think you are becoming more lovable, but you are becoming less yourself. Real connection cannot happen when you are performing for approval. Real love cannot flourish when you are editing yourself for acceptance. Real relationships cannot develop when you are more concerned with being liked than being known. The validation trap promises you connection but delivers isolation. Promises you love but delivers transaction. Promises you acceptance but delivers anxiety. The people who truly matter will not require you to diminish yourself for their comfort. They will not demand that you perform for their approval. They will not need you to be anything other than what you are. The ones who do are showing you that their love is conditional. Their acceptance is contingent. Their support is transactional. And conditional love is not love at all. It is a business arrangement disguised as affection. You do not need their validation because you are not their creation. You were not born to fulfill their expectations or meet their standards. You were born to be yourself, fully and completely, without apology or explanation. Your worth is not determined by their approval any more than your value is determined by their comprehension of it. The validation trap dies when you realize that the approval you seek from others is the approval you have been withholding from yourself. You are looking for external confirmation of an internal truth you have forgotten, that you are worthy of love, respect, and acceptance exactly as you are. You do not need to earn these things. You already possess them by virtue of being human. When you stop seeking validation from others, you discover something remarkable. You stop needing it. You realize that the only opinion that truly matters is your own, and that your own opinion is enough. You understand that living for applause is a form of slavery, and that true freedom comes from being able to stand alone in your truth without needing others to validate it. This does not mean you become indifferent to others or immune to their opinions. It means you learn to filter their input through your own values, to consider their perspectives without being controlled by them, to appreciate their approval without being dependent on it. You become selectively permeable upon to feedback, but protected from manipulation. The validation trap promises you belonging but delivers conformity. It promises you acceptance but delivers performance anxiety. It promises you love but delivers conditional approval. When you break free from this trap, you discover that true belonging comes from accepting yourself. True acceptance comes from authenticity, and true love comes from being yourself so completely that you attract people who love you for who you are, not what you do. You are not responsible for other people's comfort with your authenticity. You are not required to make yourself smaller so they can feel bigger. You are not obligated to dim your light so they can feel less threatened by your brightness. Your job is not to be liked by everyone. Your job is to be yourself, fully an unapologetic ally. The validation you seek from others is already within you. It has always been within you. The approval you crave is yours to give. The acceptance you long for is yours to grant. The love you seek is yours to feel. You have been looking for these things in all the wrong places, asking all the wrong people, seeking all the wrong sources. Stop performing for an audience that will never be satisfied. Stop editing yourself for people who will never appreciate the real you. Stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. You are not a rough draft waiting for others to edit you into something acceptable. You are a complete work of art, worthy of appreciation exactly as you are. The validation trap is broken when you realize that you do not need others to complete you, validate you, or approve of you. You are already complete, already valid, already approved by the only authority that matters, yourself. This is not arrogance, this is self-respect. This is not narcissism, this is self-love. This is not delusion, this is truth. You are ready to stop performing and start being. You are ready to stop seeking and start knowing. You are ready to stop asking for permission and start granting it to yourself. The validation trap has no power over someone who validates themselves. The approval of others becomes irrelevant when you approve of yourself. The opinions of others lose their sting when you trust your own judgment. This is your second step toward psychological sovereignty. This is your second taste of true power. This is your second glimpse of the person you are becoming, someone who needs no external validation to know their worth, no outside approval to feel valuable, no other person's permission to be themselves. You are your own validator. You always have been. You just forgot for a while, but now you remember. Now you know. Now you are free from the need for others to affirm what you already know to be true, that you are worthy, valuable, and enough, exactly as you are. The validation trap is behind you. The freedom to be yourself is ahead of you, and that freedom is just the beginning of everything you are about to become. You tell yourself you are strong because you endure. You tell yourself you are noble because you sacrifice. You tell yourself you are loving because you give everything and ask for nothing in return. But what if your strength is actually weakness in disguise? What if your nobility is actually self-abandonment? What if your love is actually fear of being alone? The martyr complex is perhaps the most sophisticated form of self-deception ever created. It allows you to feel virtuous while destroying yourself, to feel superior while being taken advantage of, to feel meaningful while being used. You wear your suffering like a badge of honor, your sacrifices like a crown of thorns, your exhaustion like a medal of courage. But here is what you refuse to acknowledge. Martyrdom is not heroism. It is a form of emotional suicide, a slow death by 1,000 cuts, each one self-inflicted in the name of love, duty, or righteousness. You are not saving anyone by destroying yourself. You are not proving your worth by proving your You are not demonstrating your love by demonstrating your willingness to be consumed. The martyr complex convinces you that your value lies in your utility to others. You become a human Swiss Army knife, available for every need, every crisis, every demand. You pride yourself on being indispensable, but indispensable to whom? To people who would replace you the moment you stop serving their needs. To people who mistake your sacrifices for weakness rather than strength, you tell yourself that giving everything is noble, but what you are really doing is avoiding the terrifying prospect of being valued for who you are rather than what you do. You hide behind your usefulness because you fear that without it, you might be seen as dispensable. You sacrifice yourself preemptively because you believe that if you do not offer yourself up, you will be cast aside. The martyr complex is built on a foundation of deep unworthiness. You believe that you must earn love through suffering, that you must prove your devotion through self-destruction, that you must demonstrate your value through your willingness to be devalued. You have confused self-sacrifice with self-respect, when in reality, they are opposites. True love does not require you to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. True relationships do not demand that you become smaller so others can feel bigger. True worth does not need to be earned through suffering or proved through sacrifice. You are not a votive candle meant to burn yourself down to provide light for others. You are a human being, deserving of the same consideration you give so freely to everyone else. The people who benefit from your martyr complex will never ask you to stop. Why would they? You are giving them everything they want while asking for nothing in return. You are solving their problems while creating none of your own. You are making their lives easier while making yours harder. From their perspective, you are the perfect person, always available, always willing, always self-sacrificing. But what about your perspective? What about your needs? What about your dreams, your boundaries, your right to be treated with the same respect you show others? The martyr complex teaches you to ignore these questions, to feel guilty for even asking them, to believe that considering your own needs is selfish or wrong. The truth is that martyrdom is not selflessness, it is a form of selfishness disguised as virtue. You sacrifice yourself not for others, but for the feeling of being needed, the illusion of being indispensable, the temporary high of being seen as good. You are not giving from abundance, you are giving from emptiness, hoping that your generosity will fill the void where your self-worth should be. The martyr complex keeps you trapped in a cycle of giving and resenting, sacrificing and suffering, serving and seething. You give everything you have, then wonder why you feel empty. You sacrifice everything you are, then wonder why you feel lost. You serve everyone else's needs, then wonder why your own needs go unmet. You cannot love others authentically when you do not love yourself. You cannot give from a place of genuine abundance when you are operating from a place of emotional poverty. You cannot serve others' highest good when you are not even serving your own basic needs. The martyr complex masquerades as love, but it is actually a form of emotional manipulation, both of others and of yourself. Real love sets boundaries. Real love says no when necessary. Real love takes care of itself so it can take care of others. Real love does not require you to diminish yourself to prove your devotion. Real love does not demand that you sacrifice your well-being for others' comfort. Real love recognizes that you cannot pour from an empty cup. The people who truly love you will not want you to sacrifice yourself for them. They will not be comfortable with your self-destruction. They will not mistake your martyrdom for love. They will want you to be happy, healthy, and whole, not because it serves them, but because it serves you. The ones who benefit from your suffering while pretending to care about your well-being are not your friends, they are your consumers. You are not responsible for everyone else's happiness. You are not obligated to solve everyone else's problems. You are not required to sacrifice your well-being for others' comfort. You are not supposed to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. You are supposed to maintain your own flame, to protect your own light, to honor your own life. The martyr complex dies when you realize that you are not helping anyone by destroying yourself. You are not proving your love by proving your You are not demonstrating your worth by demonstrating your willingness to be worthless. You are simply avoiding the responsibility of valuing yourself enough to demand that others value you too. But breaking free from the martyr complex requires you to do something terrifying, to believe that you are worthy of love, respect, and consideration, without having to earn it through suffering. To believe that your needs matter as much as everyone else's. To believe that you deserve to be treated with the same kindness you show others. This is not selfishness, this is self-respect. This is not narcissism, this is self-preservation. This is not cruelty, this is compassion. Starting with compassion for yourself. You cannot give what you do not have, and you cannot love others authentically when you do not love yourself. The martyr complex promises you meaning but delivers emptiness. It promises you love but delivers exploitation. It promises you virtue but delivers self-destruction. When you break free from this complex, you discover that true meaning comes from living authentically. True love comes from loving yourself, and true virtue comes from honoring your own life as much as you honor others. You are not a sacrifice waiting to be made. You are not a problem to be solved by offering yourself up. You are not a burden to be justified through your usefulness. You are a human being, deserving of love, respect, and consideration, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. The martyr complex is behind you now. The freedom to value yourself is ahead of you. And that freedom is just the beginning of everything you are about to become. You are ready to stop sacrificing yourself and start honoring yourself. You are ready to stop proving your worth and start knowing your worth. You are ready to stop being a martyr and start being yourself. This is your third step towards psychological sovereignty. This is your third taste of true power. This is your third glimpse of the person you are becoming, someone who loves themselves enough to demand that others love them too. Someone who values themselves enough to refuse to be devalued. Someone who honors their own life as much as they honor others. You are your own savior. You always have been. You just forgot for a while, but now you remember. Now you know. Now you are free from the need to prove your worth through your willingness to be worthless. The martyr complex is behind you. The freedom to be valued is ahead of you. And that freedom is just the beginning of everything you are about to become. You have been taught to believe that needing others is weakness, that emotional dependency is shameful, that true strength means standing alone. But what if the opposite is true? What if your inability to depend on others is actually a form of emotional cowardice? What if your fierce independence is actually a prison you have built to protect yourself from the terrifying vulnerability of being truly seen? The independence illusion runs deeper than you think. It whispers that you are strong because you need no one, that you are powerful because you rely on nothing, that you are complete because you have learned to be alone. But this is not strength, this is emotional amputation. You have not learned to be independent, you have learned to be isolated. True independence is not the absence of need, it is the ability to choose your dependencies wisely. It is not the elimination of vulnerability, it is the courage to be vulnerable with the right people. It is not the rejection of connection, it is the wisdom to know which connections serve you and which ones drain you. You tell yourself that you do not need anyone, but what you really mean is that you are afraid to need anyone. You have been hurt by people you trusted, disappointed by people you depended on, abandoned by people you believed would stay. So you have decided that the safest course is to need no one, to depend on nothing, to trust only yourself. But this safety is an illusion. You are not protecting yourself from hurt, you are protecting yourself from life. You are not avoiding disappointment, you are avoiding connection. You are not preventing abandonment, you are creating it, preemptively, before anyone else can do it to you. The independence illusion convinces you that emotional self-sufficiency is the highest form of human evolution. You pride yourself on being able to handle everything alone, on never having to ask for help, on never having to lean on anyone. But what you are really doing is depriving yourself of one of the most fundamental human experiences, the joy of being supported, the comfort of being understood, the strength that comes from knowing you are not alone. Humans are not meant to be islands. We are meant to be part of an archipelago connected beneath the surface, supporting each other through the storms, sharing resources and strength. The independence illusion teaches you to cut those connections, to float alone in the vast ocean of existence. Proud of your isolation but slowly dying from the lack of connection. You mistake emotional neediness for emotional need, but they are not the same thing. Emotional neediness is the desperate grasping for validation, the compulsive seeking of approval, the inability to exist without constant reassurance. Emotional need is the healthy recognition that you are human, that you sometimes require support, that you are stronger when you are connected to others who understand and care about you. The independence illusion teaches you to pathologize your need for connection, to shame yourself for wanting intimacy, to feel guilty for requiring support. But these are not weaknesses, they are features of healthy human psychology. You are not broken because you need others. You are human because you need others. The most insidious part of the independence illusion is that it makes you believe you are choosing solitude when you are actually choosing fear. You think you are being strong by standing alone, but you are actually being afraid of being hurt, afraid of being disappointed, afraid of being abandoned. You have mistaken emotional numbness for emotional strength. True strength is not the absence of need, it is the courage to be vulnerable despite the risk of pain. It is not the elimination of dependency, it is the wisdom to choose your dependencies consciously. It is not the rejection of connection, it is the ability to connect authentically, despite the possibility of loss. The people who matter will not use your needs against you. They will not exploit your vulnerability or weaponize your trust. They will not abandon you in your moments of weakness or judge you for your humanity. The ones who do are showing you that they are not your people, that they do not belong in your inner circle, that they are not worthy of your trust. You do not have to choose between independence and connection. You can be both self-reliant and supported, both autonomous and attached, both strong and vulnerable. In fact, true independence requires healthy dependence, the ability to rely on others when necessary while maintaining your own sense of self. The independence illusion promises you safety but delivers isolation. It promises you strength but delivers numbness. It promises you freedom but delivers a prison of your own making. When you break free from this illusion, you discover that true safety comes from connection, true strength comes from vulnerability, and true freedom comes from the courage to be yourself with others. You are not weak for needing others. You are human for needing others. You are not broken for wanting connection. You are whole for wanting connection. You are not failing for requiring support. You are succeeding at being a complete human being. The independence illusion dies when you realize that you are not proving your strength by proving your isolation. You are not demonstrating your power by demonstrating your self-sufficiency. You are not showing your value by showing your ability to survive alone. You are simply avoiding the beautiful, terrifying, essential experience of being truly known and supported by others. Breaking free from the independence illusion requires you to do something that feels dangerous, to admit that you need others, to acknowledge that you are not meant to face life alone, to recognize that your humanity includes your need for connection. This is not weakness, this is wisdom. This is not failure, this is courage. This is not surrender, this is strength. People who truly matter will not judge you for your needs. They will not see your vulnerability as weakness. They will not use your humanity against you. They will see your willingness to be vulnerable as a gift, your trust as an honor, your need for connection as a sign of your emotional health. You are not a fortress meant to stand alone against the world. You are a bridge meant to connect with others, to share strength and support, to give and receive in equal measure. The independence illusion has taught you to burn your bridges, to isolate yourself, to mistake loneliness for strength. But loneliness is not strength, it is the absence of strength. True strength comes from knowing that you can stand alone when necessary, but choosing to stand together when possible. It comes from being able to support yourself while also being willing to be supported. It comes from recognizing that independence and connection are not opposites. They are partners in the dance of healthy human existence. The independence illusion is behind you now. The freedom to connect is ahead of you, and that freedom is just the beginning of everything you are about to become. You are ready to stop isolating yourself and start connecting with others. You are ready to stop proving your self-sufficiency and start experiencing the joy of interdependence. You are ready to stop being an island and start being part of something larger than yourself. This is your fourth step toward psychological sovereignty. This is your fourth taste of true power. This is your fourth glimpse of the person you are, becoming someone who is strong enough to be vulnerable, independent enough to choose their dependencies, wise enough to know that true strength comes not from standing alone, but from choosing to stand together with people who honor your humanity, are not meant to be alone. You never were. You just forgot for a while. But now you remember. Now you know. Now you are free from the need to prove your independence by proving your isolation. The independence illusion is behind you. The freedom to connect is ahead of you, and that freedom is just the beginning of everything you are about to become. You have been running from yourself for so long that you have forgotten what you are running toward. You have been so busy becoming who you think you should be, that you have lost sight of who you actually are. You have been so focused on fixing yourself that you have forgotten that you were never broken to begin with. The authentic self is not something you create, it is something you uncover. It is not something you build, it is something you remember. It is not something you earn, it is something you already are. But the world has taught you to bury this self beneath layers of expectation, obligation, and fear. It has taught you to trade your authenticity for acceptance, your truth for approval, your soul for safety. You look in the mirror and see a stranger, someone who has been shaped by other people's opinions, molded by other people's expectations, defined by other people's needs. This person is not you. This person is a composite of every compromise you have made, every piece of yourself you have given away, every truth you have swallowed to keep the peace. But underneath all of this, beneath all the layers of conditioning and conformity, the real you is still there, waiting, watching, hoping for the day when you will have the courage to let them out, to let them breathe, to let them be seen. That day is today. That moment is now. That courage is yours. The authentic self is not perfect. It is not polished. It is not designed to make others comfortable. It is raw, real, and sometimes uncomfortable. It has opinions that might offend, desires that might disturb, needs that might inconvenience. It is not a people pleaser or a crowd favorite. It is simply, completely, unapologetically you. You have been told that authenticity is selfish, that being yourself is inconsiderate, that expressing your truth is inappropriate. But these are the lies of people who benefit from your silence, who profit from your conformity, who need you to be small so they can feel big. Your authenticity is not selfish, it is essential. Your truth is not inappropriate, it is necessary. Your voice is not too loud, it is exactly what the world needs to hear. The authentic self knows things that the conditioned self has forgotten. It knows that you are worthy of love without having to earn it. It knows that you are valuable without having to prove it. It knows that you are enough without having to become more. It knows that you are already everything you need to be. But accessing this knowing requires you to do something terrifying, to stop performing and start being, to stop hiding and start revealing, to stop conforming and start expressing, to stop apologizing for who you are and start celebrating who you are, to stop asking for permission to be yourself and start being yourself without permission. The authentic self is not afraid of rejection because it knows that anyone who rejects your truth is not your person. It is not afraid of disapproval because it knows that anyone who disapproves of your authenticity is not your audience. It is not afraid of abandonment because it knows that anyone who abandons you for being yourself was never really with you to begin with. You have been living as an edited version of yourself, carefully curated to maximize acceptance and minimize rejection. But this edited self is exhausting to maintain, impossible to sustain, and ultimately unsatisfying to inhabit. You are not a rough draft waiting to be perfected. You are a complete work of art. worthy of appreciation exactly as you are. The authentic self does not need to be liked by everyone because it likes itself. It does not need to be understood by everyone because it understands itself. It does not need to be accepted by everyone because it accepts itself. It is not seeking external validation because it has internal validation. It is not performing for applause because it is content with its own approval. Breaking free from the false self requires you to do something that feels like death, to let go of the person you have pretended to be and embrace the person you actually are. This is not death, this is birth. This is not loss, this is discovery. This is not ending, this is beginning. The people who truly matter will not be frightened by your authenticity. They will not be threatened by your truth. They will not be uncomfortable with your realness. They will be drawn to it, inspired by it, grateful for it. They will see your authenticity as permission to be authentic themselves. They will see your truth as an invitation to share their own. You are not responsible for other people's comfort. With your authenticity, you are not obligated to make yourself smaller so they can feel bigger. You are not required to dim your light so they can feel less threatened by your brightness. Your job is not to be palatable to everyone. Your job is to be yourself, fully and completely. The authentic self knows that it is better to be hated for who you are than loved for who you are not. It knows that it is better to be rejected for your truths than accepted for your lie. It knows that it is better to be alone as yourself than surrounded by people who only like your mask. You have been afraid that if people see the real you, they will not like what they see. But what if the opposite is